Recent stats from Black demographics show us that Black American women have more kids than Black American men. Specifically, Black American women have 1 million more kids than Black American men. Now, what is this revealing? It's suggesting a few things. It's suggesting that Black American women are having kids with men of other races. And it's also suggesting that a majority of Black American women are having kids with a small minority of Black men. Likely both are true, but nevertheless, it's really interesting to see what's actually going on, what the stats are actually showing us.
My job, because I can't take care of my basic needs and work 40 hours a week at the same time. It's really hard to say this out loud and put it online, but I know that I'm not the only person going through this. I've almost been fired from every job that I've ever had, and it's not because I'm not smart. I actually tend to overperform in the beginning. It's just that after some time, I inevitably burn out once I wake up one day and realize that I haven't taken a shower in like 3 weeks. It's really frustrating because I know that I'm an intelligent person and I've been able to accomplish a lot of really amazing things in my life, but I still can't manage to take care of myself. And it's not just a matter of not trying hard enough or not being disciplined. If I could take care of my basic needs and work full time, I would have fucking done that by now and then some. It's a form of self-sabotage to honestly be putting so much energy into these executive functioning skills at work and not have anything left to give myself.
So this is part 2 on why I had to get my BBL surgically removed. So in part 1, I was telling y'all how my sit-down ear was stinking real bad. And it got to the point to where I had to carry around a bottle of air freshener or a bottle of perfume, because when I would use public restrooms, it would stink so bad and the smell would linger. It was like an embarrassment. I didn't want to come out the bathroom with it smelling like that and someone else was waiting at the door. When I say that BBL really ruined my life, I even lost my boyfriend behind it. He was telling me the whole time, like, you're stinking real bad down there and I can't stomach it. First I'm in denial, like, no, you're hating, you're mad, I got a BBL. It was the truth. It got to the point to where I would be washing my laundry, weekly, like I've been doing before I got the BBL. When I would get my laundry out of the dryer, it would still smell like that raw eating flesh. I really was like, so this one day, me and my boyfriend, we getting ready, to do part 3 on how I got my BBL surgically removed because my sit-down one was stinking real bad. BBL stink, do you hear me? And it's not coming from the vagina or the beehole. It's coming from the incisions that they cut to inject the fluid and the fat in your butt, okay?
Shalom, giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem, Yahushai by Hashem, Rakak Madash, and double honor to our apostles, elders, and bishops. Here at Great Millstone for teaching His truth is going all around the earth, and shalom to the hopeful elect out there. It's your brother Atazawan from the Great Millstone. Here in St. Louis, we're going to get a real quick lesson here based on those 3 clips, all right, that was in the front. And it just goes to show you that our women here in Babylon the Great are through, all right? They're finished. They're confused, okay? They are just so far gone, right, that there's no way outside of the few sisters that believe this gospel. These women here in Babylon the Great are so far gone that there would be no way for them even to return, all right? As we see, they're filled with the philosophies and the wine of this place, Babylon the Great. All right, they took hook, line, and sinker from Esau, Edom, to believe in their wicked doctrines and different beliefs. One in particular is that feminist movement, which is why now they're confused. They're crying for help. They're on social media, just really just pleading for help. Okay. because they can't even manage their lives as grown adults, okay, because they believed, all right, all of the different what you would call Salakia. I don't even know what the word is that I'm looking for. You know, it's just that they're idiotic. All right, we just use we'll just use that phrase. These women, they finished. All right, and next they'll be going back to trying to look for a good man. But I thought you were independent. I thought you were strong. You went to Esau school. You got all your PhDs, and you know you hold this title, you hold this position, you got this job, you make this much amount of money, and here it is, you can't even wash your funky ass because you forgot about it for 3 weeks. You know, that's deplorable. All right. At some point, you have to know that you stinking. All right, when you haven't washed. All right. So anyway, let's look at this real quick. And Salakia for the grossness, but you know, she said it, I didn't. Okay. So they believed in this feminist movement as a part of what they've, you know, as a part of what their lifestyle is today. All right, and this is just one aspect of it, but it's a big aspect. It's a big thing that these women, modern women today, as to why they are not fit to be wives. All right, they don't want to be wives. They don't want to be mothers. All right, they don't know how. They don't know how to adult. Right, they can't run their lives. They can't take care of their finances. All right, but yet and still, you don't need a man. All right, you're out of order. Your life is out of order, and that's why your life is a wreck. Okay, because you ultimately have gone against the order of Yahweh Shem Yahushai and will not take your place as a woman under a man, be it your father or your husband. All right. So let's just look at this real quick and see where this whole feminist thing started. All right. Where these women decided that they wanted to fight for equal rights. Okay. And all these different things, particularly the Israelite woman. Okay. Because the feminist movement was not for you. All right. But they used you here in the modern day eras ever since the late 50s and early 60s. Okay. So let's look at this AI overview. It says first organized movement for women's rights, often considered the beginning of the feminist movement, began in July 1848 in the Seneca Falls Convention organized by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott in Seneca Falls, New York. All right, so that was the first organizing of so-called women, right, fighting for their so-called rights to get from underneath their husbands. All right, they were upset about the men, their men now, mind you, the so-called white man having control and power, and they didn't even have the ability to vote. Okay, now I want to drop down here to where it says Mary, what is that, Wollstonecraft, right here, and it says many consider Mary Wollstonecraft's 1792 book, A Vindication of the Rights of Women, as a foundational text for feminist thought, though the term feminist was not coined until later. And then another one which look like small hat names, right? Friedan, Betty Friedan in 1963 published quote, The Feminine Mystique, end quote, which argued that women were chafing against the confines of their roles as wives and mothers, sparking the second wave of feminism. All right, so this whole idea of feminism was really for the so-called white woman. All right, and here's a portrait, I guess, of this ugly woman right here. All right. While there isn't one single founder of feminism, Mary Wollstonecraft, an 18th century English writer and philosopher, is widely regarded as a foundational figure for her influential work, all right, of that book, right? A Vindication of the Rights of Women. You see? So my whole point to you, especially you Israelite women out there, you know, you swallowed the bait of Esau, Edom, and destroyed yourself and destroyed your family. In fact, let me see if I can find that scripture. I'm trying to remember how it's read. Salaki. Plucketh. It down. I think it's what it is. Yeah, Proverbs 14:1, it says, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with their hands, right? So when you're a wicked woman, basically, and, you know, it could be one or two things. You could be with a man and decide that your pride is more important than being a wife and a mother, and you destroy your own house, you get a divorce, or you could be one of these women you so proud that you say you don't need a man. Okay, and even in your own little world, you pluck down your own little world because you're being disobedient. All right. Proverbs 14:1 again, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. You got a lot of foolish, clamorous women out here, okay, who think they know better. And now you're up Schitt's Creek without a paddle. This is 1 Timothy 5. Do I want to go all the way up? Yeah, let's just start right here at verse 3. It says, honor widows that are widows indeed, but if any widow have children or nephew, let them learn first to show piety at home, which is humility. All right, piety is showing reverence, it's showing humility within the house. Right, as a woman, you're not supposed to be all boisterous and making all that noise and, you know, running your mouth at your husband, okay, and around your children, okay, but show humility. And to requite their parents, for that is good and acceptable before the Most High. Right, shutting your mouth and being quiet and being in order is acceptable before Yahweh. All right, verse 5, now she that is a widow indeed and desolate trusteth in the Most High and continueth in supplication and prayers night and day. But she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. Just like you heard that woman say, she couldn't even, you know, manage to do just the basic things like cleaning herself, right? Because she's overwhelmed with the way that this world is running, okay? See, but that's this whole philosophy that's coming to bite you in the ass, okay? You know, going on here, it says, verse 7, and these things give in charge, and that they may be blameless, but if any provide not for his own, and especially, can't get my words right, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Let not a widow be taken into the number under 80, having been the wife of one man, well reported of for good works, if she have brought up children, if she have lodged strangers, if she have washed the saints' feet, if she have relieved the afflicted, if she have diligently followed every good work. But the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Mashiach, they will marry, having damnation because they have cast off their first faith. And withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, right? And not only idle, but tattlers also and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not, right? And that's just basically being reckless, okay? These younger women are reckless, all right? Older women who are more mature, you know how to handle and know how to deal with a man and deal with children, run the house, knows how to teach and guide, okay? But these younger women, you know, got a mind of their own, and they refuse instruction. You see, and just like that other lady was talking about her stinky BBL, you know, which we're going to get that scripture in a minute. But again, just what being rebellious and decide that they're going to do whatever they want to do. It's their body, and they can do whatever they want. Okay? Verse 14, I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully, right? So you got duties as a woman, right? As a young woman, what you're supposed to follow, all right? Bear the children and guide the house. And there's nothing dishonorable about that. But these modern day women believe that, they supposed to be sitting in the boardroom. They supposed to be judges in the courthouse. They're supposed to be politicians in a man's world. All of these different things. And that's out of order. All right. Verse 15, for some are already turned aside after Satan, right? And when you start cutting in your behind to get some fillers put in there, you have turned aside to Satan, okay? The Lord ain't never told you that you had to, in order for you to get something out of life, right? Or title, position, or to, make yourself, try to improve on the work that the Lord has done, right? He made you the way he made you, and that's all there is to it, right? But you're going to try and go to the white man, right, and get some plastic stuffed in your behind, right, and think that your body is not going to naturally reject it because your body thinks that there's something invading it, so it's going to send a defense, right? Your immune system is going to try to fight that foreign object that's in your body, right, thinking it's an infection. You see? Verse 16, if any man or woman that believeth have widows, let them relieve them, and let not the church be charged, that it may relieve them that are widows indeed. Okay? So, though that be talking about, women who may be by themselves, the point being in another verse, that you women are supposed to really guide the house, raise the children and guide the house, all right? There's an order that you should be following, you see? So Ephesians 6:1, it says, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and thy mother, which is the first commandment, with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up, Salakia, in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Okay? So even as a father, we have our duties, right, that we must adhere to, right, pursuant to what? The scriptures. And you see it right there in verse 2, honor thy father and thy mother, which is a commandment. Okay? So rebellion is out the window, man. You're not supposed to rebel against the order that the Lord has given us as the children of Israel, right? So you see how the man has to step up and do his thing, right? The children have to step up and do their thing. So what makes you think you women are different, that you could just do whatever you want to do? And this is why you're getting tore up out here in the streets, okay, for not having guidance, right, or rejecting guidance. All right, and I'm not going to make this too long. We get a couple more, we'll be done on it. This is Isaiah 3:16. It says, moreover, the Lord Yahweh saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, right, you reckless, right, undisciplined, okay, walking and mincing as they go and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore the Lord will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. Okay, your secret parts. Just imagine what that can be. All right, use your brain. Here in verse 18, in that day the Lord will take away the bravery of the tinkling ornaments about their feet, and their cowls and their round tires like the moon. Right. This is going to affect your body, right? That Coke bottle like body, right? And it's a lot of Jake women now that that are built all weird and crazy, you know. But that's what the Lord put on you. And so you're trying to get around basically the curse that the Lord put on you by going to get BBLs. It's crazy. And, you know, hey, whatever you get from it is what you get. You know, you deserve it, you know. But stinking and carrying on, you know. And again, it's because you refuse to follow the order that the Lord has set up for you as a woman, okay? This is Genesis 3:16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So you women want to be independent. You don't want a husband over you, okay? But when you do that, you're out of order. So you get what you get, okay? All right? If you had a man in your life that would that guided you, a righteous man, let me say it that way, because you got a lot of wicked Jake niggas out here who love to have a wife go do something ridiculous like that, all right? But I'm talking about a real man. You had a real man in your life, he wouldn't have allowed you to go do that, right? If you had a real man in your life, you would be having children by him and not going to all these other weird nation men. If you had a real man in your life, you wouldn't be walking around for 3 weeks without washing your behind, right? You wouldn't be putting your business on social media talking about how you can't control your life, okay, because you work so hard and you're so intelligent, okay? Well, no, you stupid, because the easiest thing for you to have done was found you a decent enough man, in which she probably had some men that wanted to, you know, take her or whatever, but pride is on these women, okay? And so now they're getting their just desserts and they don't like it, you see? All right? But this is your payback for all the dirt you've been doing. Genesis 3:16 again, it says, unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. That's the order that you're supposed to be in. You're supposed to be humble, right? You're supposed to have piety, okay? You're supposed to be orderly, all right? Guide the house. That's a very big job. That's an important job for a woman that knows how to guide the house and raise children. There's nothing wrong with that, all right? But you've taken the wine and philosophy of these crying Edomite women, okay, who wanted to get back at their own men, and they've used you Jake women, for the last 60 years, right, to fight their fight for them. So-called white woman got everything she wanted, and here you're black behind, you out here crying because you can't take care of yourself, and you don't know how to get in the bath, take a bath, all right, after 3 weeks, you know. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what it is. She put that out there, you know, and just another reason for brothers to go into lessons about this. And we've done lessons on, obviously, on the NW woman for a long time now, right? But they never cease to amaze you because they're always putting something out there, all right? And we just take it for opportunity to make another lesson on them. All right, so with that, I'll close the lesson right there, giving all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai Shalom.